Teachers, do you ever wonder why that student just doesn't get it? No matter how much you break it down, scaffold the lesson, or try to help them conceptualize what you're teaching in class, the understanding just isn't clicking? Well, you're not alone. Today, we're diving into a powerful concept called cognitive load and how it might hold the answers to your classroom challenges. Cognitive load refers to the mental effort required to process new information. Think of it as your brain's working memory. Like a computer, your brain can only handle so much at once. When that capacity is exceeded, learning slows down or even stops. Let's look at an example. Imagine teaching a student to divide 45 by 105. This task demands several cognitive skills. First is number sense, which is understanding which number is larger and the relationship between dividend and divisor. Then there's conceptual understanding, which is basically dividing a number into equal parts. Next, the student would need knowledge on how to convert fractions and decimals. Then there are also operational skills, or how to work the problem and solve it. And finally, the student would need focus and working memory, which would mean juggling intermediate calculations and the specific rules that apply. This example illustrates the multiple cognitive demands layered into what seems like a simple math problem. When students tackle problems, they rely on a mix of processing skills. For example, visual processing helps them interpret diagrams or visual information. Sequential processing is what they use to follow step-by-step instructions. Abstract reasoning kicks in when they're working with ideas that don't have a physical form. Logical reasoning helps them make connections and draw conclusions. And auditory processing allows them to listen and make sense of spoken information. If one or more of these skills isn't fully developed, it can make it much harder for students to engage with a lesson. Even in subjects like science, students often understand the definition of a term, but fail to connect it to real-world applications. For example, a student might memorize the definition of osmosis, but struggle to visualize how it works in a cell membrane. This cognitive juggling act can quickly lead to overload, especially when concepts build on one another. To address cognitive overload, we've researched successful approaches used in educational systems worldwide. First, the learning environment should be conducive to learning. It should be clean and free from clutter or unnecessary distractions. Varied seating options and soft, non-harsh lighting can also enhance focus. Just as adults typically prefer a clean, calm space for learning or working, students benefit from environments that aren't chaotic or overdone. Overly busy or uncomfortable spaces can be distracting and are often more work to maintain than a simpler, streamlined approach. Remember, the goal is to enhance students' minds, not to distract them or to compete with garish, over-the-top classroom decor. Next, intentionally structuring lessons is essential to prevent cognitive overload. Many teachers already use strategies like scaffolding, chunking information, or pre-teaching visual vocabulary, but incorporating multimodal instruction can take learning even further. Multimodal teaching, widely embraced in Finland, one of the world's top-performing education systems, engages students through a variety of sensory and learning channels, enhancing comprehension and retention. Additionally, consider adopting flexible lesson timing. For example, Japan's approach of shorter, focused lessons followed by breaks or reflection periods allows the brain to process and retain information more effectively without becoming overwhelmed. Finally, consider incorporating introductory self-directed exploration. In Singapore, inquiry-based learning is emphasized, encouraging students to investigate problems and ideas independently before receiving guided instruction. Germany's practice of active breaks is another strategy to keep students engaged. At higher grade levels, this approach can be adapted by dividing class time between theory and active labs, where students physically demonstrate or explore concepts introduced during the theoretical portion. In New Zealand, Maori schools often use storytelling as a culturally adaptive and step-by-step method for building understanding. This approach ensures that learning is both relevant and meaningful to students. Additionally, gamification and scaffolded hands-on simulations are highly engaging methods of presenting content in innovative ways. These approaches not only capture students' attention, but also help reduce cognitive load, making learning more accessible and enjoyable. As the saying goes, it's not what you teach, but how you teach it. If you'd like more in-depth information on the strategies mentioned in this video, consider booking a professional development session with us. Join us at Teachology, where learning is a science. Thank you for watching Teachology.